Hello and welcome to the Great American Homeownership Initiative. My name is Russ Fitzpatrick, and if you look up the license number in Florida, it's BK 0511892. The reason I know that number is I've had that real estate license since 1986, and I'm probably the oldest, most experienced residential real estate professional you know. This is my life's work, empowering home ownership through education and support. And I want to thank the companies that sponsored today's event: Homeowner Assist, the Pet Friendly Real Estate Agent Network, Hero Home Source, and of course our platinum sponsor, Annie Mac Home Mortgage. Annie Mac is licensed to lend government lending programs in, I think, 50 states, if I'm not mistaken. And you've got an opportunity to work with some of the best real estate agents in the country through the Pet Friendly Real Estate Agent Network. And finally, Hero Home Source is a nonprofit organization that specializes in military government lending, veteran affairs, also teachers, law enforcement, and first responders. So big thank you to Annie Mac Home Mortgage, Homeowner Assist, the Pet Friendly Real Estate Agent, and Hero Home Source Network. Again, we're here for one reason and one reason only: to empower you towards home ownership in 2019. And all we do is provide education and support. We are an advocate for your home ownership. We've got nothing but love to give you today. What are we going to cover today? We want you to understand what's available to you through the federal and state grant programs. These programs are written by the federal and state governments, home finance authorities, to stimulate home ownership. And the fact is, most people don't know that there are down payment assistance programs and federal and state grant programs available to them. We're going to talk about the types of benefits that are available to the select group of first responders, military, and veterans. We're also going to share with you some really great resources for buying real estate a little cheaper. How can you buy real estate wholesale or even just at a little bit of a discount through auctions, foreclosure properties? What other resources are available to you to go out and shop today to get some discount on your residential real estate? We're going to talk about this phenomenon primarily driven by HGTV, but this concept of fixer-uppers and renovation real estate and investing overview on how you can take advantage of some of those opportunities that are in your local market. And then we're going to start to wrap up with the 5 credit commandments of home ownership, kind of a what to expect when you're expecting to buy a house. And then last but not least, we're going to invite you to discover the home ownership budget and kind of solve for that debt dilemma. Before we go too far in, I want to show you a post that I made on January 18th. It was a share of a video that I saw, and I want you to pay close attention to this video because it really drives the purpose behind our home ownership initiative. I'm going to go ahead and let this young man take it away.
Yep.
Where are we?
Home sweet home.
We at home sweet home. What you so happy for? You happy? You finna cry? Tell you gonna make me cry. Don't cry. Why you crying? You happy? Where you going? You happy? Oh, I'm happy too, baby. I'm happy too. I love you. Oh, it's okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You are so welcome. I did this for you, okay?
I love you.
I love you too.
Well, I hope you saw that little sold sign over mom's left shoulder while she was hugging her young son. I've been participant in over 3,500 real estate closings during the past 32 years, 33 years, and I can tell you that whether you demonstrate it the way that young man did or not, there's something more important to home ownership than simple dollars and cents. There's some real benefits to homeownership that go far beyond the economics of it, and I would have to tell you that this is going to be an economic conversation, but you know divorces reduce when homeownership exists. Drug addiction reduces when homeownership exists. Bankruptcies reduce when homeownership exists. It's not just about uh, owning versus renting. It's about creating a stable environment and building equity. And I think it is the American dream to own a home. And I think that young man and his mother really just tied a bow on it for us as far as what we are driven by. Homeowner Assist wants to educate you today about grants. You know, we want to talk to you briefly about the federal, state, county, and city homebuyer grants that have been created to stimulate home ownership in your community. And some of them are driven towards particular price ranges. We're going to talk about who qualifies for this free money, and sometimes there's restrictions that apply. We're going to go through that. We're going to talk about down payment assistance, fixed amount of money specifically designated for down payment. Sometimes this is a loan, and sometimes this is a gift. As you see some of these case studies, we're going to try to educate you, and then there's going to be some representatives standing by if you want to ask more questions and get more involved. But the income limitations are almost always based on the size of the household. So if you have a two-person family, there's certain income restrictions, and if you have a five-person family, there's different income restrictions. But you know, you can't make too much money or you don't qualify, and you can't make too little money or you don't qualify. Um, Also, a lot of these programs are directed towards first-time home buyers, but in bright yellow in the middle of your page, it's really important to see that a first-time home buyer is defined by someone who has not owned a home in the past 36 months. So in addition to that, you may have owned a home and you know sold it, or maybe you suffered a foreclosure or a short sale in your past, and now more than 36 months has seasoned. You're redefined as a first-time home buyer. And for those of you who own a home now, don't worry. About 37% of the programs nationally are not anything to do with first-time home buyers. So only 63% of the programs are directed at first-time home buyers. The rest of them you could qualify for as well. And then as we mentioned, there's some special incentives and rebates for first responders, educators, law enforcement, healthcare workers, and veterans that we're going to show you today. We are probably one of the very few organizations in the country that compile and monitor the 1,200 home finance authority offering companies that exist or organizations that exist nationally. So I want to tell you that if you're in Keokuk, Iowa or Des Moines, Iowa, there's a different home financing authority program. There's different programs in Dade County than in Broward County, Florida. There are different programs in Gloucester, New Jersey. There's completely different programs throughout the Mid-Atlantic states versus the New England states. So we act as a guide and an advocate for all the state by state homebuyer programs, whether it be a federal, state, county, or local municipality program. And we invite you to submit your application to grants.homeownerassist.org. It's about a 3-minute app, and I promise you, when you fill that out, we're going to give you documents and a package that looks like this. So in New Jersey, if you submitted an application and we saw that you qualified for a particular program or that you might qualify for a particular program, we might introduce you to the Smart Start DPA loan. It's a down payment assistance loan of up to 4% of your purchase price that is completely forgiven if you live in the home for at least 5 years. In your highlighted region there in the center of your page, these counties of Atlantic, Burlington, Camden, Essex, Gloucester, Mercer, Passaic, and Union County all have this down payment assistance program. And as you can see in the highlight, they're trying to incentivize family stability and incentivize you to stay in the home for 5 years. Some of the reasons I mentioned. But if you look at the 437, 349 amount, the purchase price limit in those, these aren't cheap houses. These aren't affordable housing situations. And 4% of 437 is better than $16,000 that they're going to give you, loan to you, right? And that's a big loan. And then they're not going to ask you to pay it back as long as you stay in the house for at least 5 years. Now, let's say you stay in the house for 3 years. Certain programs will prorate the amount you owe. Certain programs you have to pay the whole $16,000 back when you sell the house. But presumably, you've grown some equity in the home and you have that to repay. But all of these programs have income limitations and credit score limitations. I'm going to give you another case study real quick. If you make an application with Homeowner Assist, we could introduce you to the Home Seeker Down Payment Assistance Program. This is up to a $10,000 check with no interest, and they completely forgive if you stay in the house for 5 years. So some of you are already pontificating that might somehow in some way be negative. It's a free loan with no interest. And if you sell your home within 3 years or move out before 5 years, you have to repay it. That's pretty interesting to me, as a 620 credit score minimum requirement, and the purchase price limits are at 437. Once again, you can call. There's an operator standing by at 1-844-RE-ASSIST. That's 844-792-7747. Or you can go straight to grants.homeownerassist.org. We will go down to Pennsylvania and we take a look at a program that's available for specific employees, like I mentioned. We're talking about medical, school, police, fire personnel, county workers, laborers. $8,000 for down payment assistance. $8,000. And there is no need for that employee. They only have to put down a minimum of 1% of the home purchase price, or $1,000 is their minimum contribution. That's a small amount to pay to put down on a home. So one more example, we're going to run on down to Florida and take a look at an example. Remember, we are a national advocate for homeownership, so we have to be familiar with all 1,200 home finance authority offerings that are in the country. Mortgage credit certificate. Now, this is an interesting way that the government decided to fund your homeownership. They just, right off the bat, said you can have $166 a month towards homeownership. So if you buy a house and your payment is $1,500 a month, they're going to give you $2,000 a year to reduce that payment down to what would be $1,334 a month instead of $1,500 a month. That is for first-time home buyers. It's what's called an interest credit on your federal taxes. They're going to give you that $2,000 a year to help you make your interest payments on your loan. These are just unique ways that the federal, state, county governments or home finance authorities have decided to assist or stimulate home ownership. We want to help you. If you do reach out to Homeowner Assist, we're going to forward you a package for your local market. You're not required to use us. You're not required to use any of our vendors. You're not required to use any of our sponsors. We're just going to send you the package out, and it'll be in your hands within about 72 hours of you making application, and it will have a list. You'll be able to call the home finance authority directly. You'll be able to call the government entity directly, whether it be county program or federal program. And you don't have to use our help if you don't want to. We're only here if you want to use our help, but we're always going to provide the information to you free from any charge or obligation. One of the best ways that you can buy discounted real estate, if you're looking to make a move in the next 6 to 12 months, is you can buy auction properties or you can buy bank or government owned foreclosures. I am expert at this, and I have helped many, many families, including my own family, take advantage of real estate auctions and foreclosures over the years. The myth here, guys, is that auctions and foreclosures and government and bank foreclosures are reserved for cash buyers and the old adage, the rich keep getting richer. It's education that's the problem. The person who makes $50,000 doesn't know that there's an auction going on. The person that goes to work every day, you know, 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day and raises their children the rest of the time, they don't have time to figure out where the auctions and the foreclosures are. So there's this myth that permeates auctions and foreclosures that the rich keep getting richer. But the fact actually exists that most of the government foreclosures, most of the bank-owned foreclosures, and most of the auctions today incentivize owner-occupied buyers. There was a shift that happened in this last crash, this last residential real estate crash, that the federal, state, and local governments and the banking organizations started to incentivize or prioritize owner-occupied purchasers over investors and cash buyers. So now it's the opposite is true. You are front and center on these purchasing opportunities if you're going to live in and own that home. All you need to do is make a standard FHA, VA, or conventional mortgage application. You need to work with your favorite realtor. If your realtor doesn't know about auctions and foreclosures, you need to get another realtor. But ultimately, you work with your favorite realtor. You look at active listings in the local multiple listing service. That's the computer that all the realtors use to put their active listings in together. Now, what you'll be able to do with your favorite realtor is you'll be able to find estate sales. You should be able to discover some probate cases. You will certainly find in most markets your fair share of divorce liquidation sales. And also, if your realtor is informed, he or she can show you government and bank owned houses that are for sale within the existing inventory or upcoming inventory that might be coming on the market in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 days. Today, real time, at this moment, there are live auctions going on that if you had proof of mortgage ability, that you would be able to participate in. And that is a fact. Okay. So there are a lot of ways that you can get involved that most individual consumers don't know about. There's another wild, wild west phenomenon going on of fixer-upper residential real estate, renovation lending, or what they call handyman specials. I'd like you to understand that you don't have to be handy to buy a handyman special. I am not a handy person. I don't have any calluses on my hands. I don't do any hammering of nails or, any actual lifting. You can ask my wife. I don't do that work. But your mortgage lender may have a solution for you. It's called 203K renovation lending. And if you want to know how renovation lending works, the main thing you need, if you look at that house on the far right of your screen, you need to be the one that has creative imagination. You personally, as the home buyer, need to be able to visualize what that could become if you renovated it, right? The next thing you need, whether you think so or not, is you need professional guidance. Before you ever write an offer, during your due diligence, you should be analyzing how much new windows would cost, how much new siding would cost, how much would the pressure cleaning cost, how much would the landscaping cost, are there any roof leaks? Would this house appraise for a certain amount of money? If I'm going to buy it, I need to know the appraised value in its current condition, but I also need to know its future appraised value if it's renovated. So that's appraisal contingencies are built in to your contracts to make sure that you are protected, that you're not going to overextend yourself with this particular home. You also have to protect yourself with inspection and repair clauses. Your favorite realtor or your mortgage bank working in connection with your realtor can help you uh, configure the right 203k renovation lending situation where you're fully protected with appraisal contingencies and inspection and repair clauses so that you don't get exposed. Due diligence is the absolute secret to success. It's putting together all the numbers ahead of time. Your renovation lending specialist would be able to guide you through that due diligence with your real estate professional, with a professional inspector that works for you, with an appraiser that works for you and the bank. And when I say works for you and the bank, I want to clarify something here. When you're putting down $5,000 and the bank is laying out $200,000, your partners, in the clearest sense of the terms, right? You're putting up 5,000 and your bank is putting up 200,000. So they make up the largest part of the risk. So they're going to have to analyze this house from a lot of scrutiny, the repair estimates, the future valuation, and they're going to make sure that they're not going to get exposed to undue risk. And that's actually a service that's beneficial to you, if you ask me. The other thing that I want to point out in these next case studies is how rewarding and enjoyable renovation real estate can be if you have a sense of patience and you have a sense of creative imagination. These are my children and my wife working on a renovation project that we did in New Orleans, Louisiana. You can use your own money if you have it, or you can use a 203k renovation loan if you qualify. But in New Orleans, we like to call this one Houdat. We were building equity. We paid $107,000 for this house together with my wife and kids. We put about $65,000 in renovation into the house for a total investment of 172. This past week, because this is real time, we had a realtor come out and quote us 285 on resale. Now that's $113,000 in instant equity. And I'm going to tell you, as God is my witness, the lion's share of any wealth that I've built in this trip on earth has been built from residential real estate purchasing, renovating, renting out, and holding. I, of course, save your income for some of your wealth building, but you cannot exponentially build wealth without, you know, a catalyst for it. And for me, the renovation real estate case studies that you're going to see here. As we got finished on this house and we invited the realtor out to assess the house for us, this was a traditional shotgun New Orleans house with double entry, so it's a double. So there's a house on the left and a house on the right. And I'm proud to say that my daughter is living in the left side of the house right now as we speak, and we've got a nice equity position. I want to mention also, she went to college in New Orleans, and that has created the opportunity for us to work together with my family renovating the house, whether her just being out in New Orleans by herself. We got to go there this past summer, work with her younger brother and her mom, and really do some great work together as a family on that house. I think that's some quality of life type stuff and some stuff that my kids will never forget and will learn from. I want to tell you about a renovation real estate case in Pompano Beach, Florida. We're going to call this one Big Sister Big Money. 203k renovation loan or use your own money. This is my wife's sister. We actually helped sell her the house in Southeast Florida in Pompano Beach for just over $1 million. To date, she claims to have just around $450,000 invested in it. It's a two-story home now. It's just a beautiful, beautiful home with a gorgeous view of the water. And the realtor says today it's worth 2.1 million. So you're seeing a $600,000 instant equity position. I'm going to note also that this is a very smart big sister. She rented out her boat lift for $1,200 a month. So she pays all of her real estate taxes on that house just by the boat lift being rented for $1,200 a month. So, there's a lot of ways to skin this cat in residential real estate, renovation real estate case study number 2. And the last one I want to show you is personal to me. Again, I really enjoy the Smoky Mountain National Park region of the country. It's close enough that I can get some hint of mountains from Florida, but far enough away that it does feel like a different place. Um, we call this one renovation vacation. We did a little cabin up on the top of a mountain, amazing view, mountains as far as you could see. We paid we paid $90,000 for the house. It was a wreck, and all the wood on the outside was kind of rotted, and the interior needed to be ripped out. But we put about $30,000 into the house. So we've got about $120,000 in total invested into that one. And remember, you can do a renovation 203K loan or you can use your own money. But the realtor says today it's worth about $140,000. So that's just about $20,000 in instant equity, not a poke in the eye. Obviously, it's not a get rich quick scheme, but we wanted a vacation home in the mountains. So if we're going to have a vacation home in the mountains, why not do a renovation project and get some instant equity? You get to do the project with your friends and family. And like I mentioned before, I don't lift a hammer, I don't lift a nail, I don't do any of the work. I do want to show you the 5 credit commandments of home ownership as we switch gears. What to expect when you're expecting to buy a house. And with respect to the Pet Friendly Real Estate Agent Network, if you happen to be a pet owner, I want you to know I'm just taking a little side note here on the pet issue. Um, Pit bulls, Doberman pinchers, German shepherds, tarantulas, boa constrictors, any kind of pet that you've got, even a cat, can prohibit you from closing on a residential real estate deal if you don't know the rules. Country clubs, you're talking about condominium associations, you're talking about homeowners associations, you're talking about whole cities. An entire city bans a particular breed of animal. And that is true across the entire country. So if you need help with a particular breed restriction, pet restriction, anything that you need help with, call Homeowner Assist. We'll match you up with a pet-friendly real estate agent. It makes all the difference in the world because it'll help get you to handle the problems that might be created by pets and shop for the houses that are right for you and your pet. We do work with law firms across the country that can help with pet disputes, but mainly all you need is an expert in the Pet Friendly Real Estate Agent Network. So now we're going to do the 5 credit commandments of home ownership. And we're going to say the first one is thou shalt not make a credit application or open a new account. If you're thinking about buying a house, don't go to Jared, don't go to Mayors, don't go to Rooms to Go, don't go to Lexus. Do not make a credit application or open any new accounts. Focus 100% of your energy on home ownership first. Make your mortgage application only and don't open any other credit applications or open any other accounts if you're thinking about buying a house. The second credit commandment of home ownership: do not add to your existing debt load in any way. Don't charge up a credit card. Don't add even a little gas credit card. Don't do it. If you're thinking about buying a house, do not add to your existing debt load in any way. Do not ever, thou shalt not make any large deposits or withdrawals from your bank account. Even if it's a gift from your mom, uncle, or grandmother, it's important that it's documented a certain way. It needs to be a legal gift letter. It needs to be, any large deposits are going to need to be sourced. So if your friend leaves a suitcase full of $10,000 bills on it, do not put that in your bank account until you talk to your mortgage professional about how you need to document that deposit and source those phones. One of the biggest mistakes that consumers make when they're thinking about buying a house is they buy their furniture before the closing. Do not, thou shalt not buy furniture before the closing, especially in interest-free incentive purchases. This is completely damaging to the mortgage application process because if you fill out a credit application for that interest-free incentive, you're incurring additional debt, whether you have to pay for it right away or not. It's still a debt that you incurred and they still pulled your credit. So your mortgage bank is going to find out about it. So do not buy furniture, especially on revolving debt, before the closing. And last but not least, thou shalt not co-sign a loan or a lease for anyone for any reason, even for your own children, if you're expecting to buy a house in the very near future. So, what to expect when you're expecting to buy a house? Thou shalt not make a credit application. Thou shalt not add anything to your existing debt load. Do not make any large deposits or withdrawals out of your banking account. Don't go out and do the no interest until 2066 interest-free incentive purchases until after closing, and do not co-sign a loan or a lease for anyone, even your own children. There are very specific reasons for these 5 credit commandments. If you trust us, just follow it. If you want to call us to ask questions about why, we're certainly able to ask them, but that's the section called What to Expect When You're Expecting. All right, I want to make a special offer to you on a personal level. We've done homeownership budgets and solved the debt dilemma for literally thousands and thousands of homeowners. We would assign an individual counselor to you. We will construct your personal home ownership budget, and we're going to propose solutions for you to consider for debt reduction and solving the debt dilemma. As part of the free service, we're going to complete a rent versus ownership analysis that's specific to your income and your household. We're also going to do a down payment and closing cost estimator for you so that you know what you're going to get into or what you might get into. And last but not least, we're going to provide a free monthly payment calculator that allows you to analyze how this new home ownership might affect your household income, your debt to income ratio, and help you understand how you could potentially build equity over time in home ownership. This is some service that we provide to you free from any charge. And remember, this is a one-on-one private consultation. We are an advocate for your home ownership. So very important for you to know at this point in the conversation, we don't need to pull credit and we don't need to get your social security number to do this. Okay. This isn't something where we need to dig deep into your credit worthiness or your income documents yet. All we're going to do is to review the numbers with you, the home ownership budget, kind of analyze your existing debt load, your debt to income, and your household income. And only then, if it looks as though you want to proceed towards home ownership and an actual mortgage application, we would refer you to a mortgage professional, or you could find your own. It doesn't matter to us. We're just here as an advocate, and this one-on-one private consultation is here as a service to you. Should you choose to use one of our sponsors, that would be fantastic, but there's no requirement, no obligation to do so. Well, I want to say thank you very much for joining us on the Great American Homeownership Initiative. And I just want to tell you, it has been my life's work to help families move towards home ownership. And as an old guy now, I just feel very, very proud of any contribution we can have to help you move towards home ownership. I have the statistical observations on fewer divorces, fewer bankruptcies, fewer drug addictions, fewer alcoholism addictions based on home ownership. And it's just a pleasure and a privilege for us to assist in any way that we can towards your home ownership. I want to wish you good luck on your home ownership initiative, and God bless you and your family towards home ownership and a great family life and a high quality life. Thanks so much for being on.